The 1980s, a time period that may have birthed the most iconic TV shows, movies, and commercials of all time. All of this and more. Join me and my associates as we go back in time and witness the true glory of the 1980s.
There's a lot of different popular hairstyles. We're gonna go over 3 of them. The mullet. We see this nowadays. Pretty aight. Then you got the afro. People like Jimi Hendrix used it. A couple people in Van Halen, other popular bands. Lastly, have the long, messy hair look. Pretty fire in my opinion. Kind of shows differences in our culture. We're also gonna be talking about baggy clothes. Like my friend here, Greg. He's got these baggy, drippy pants. Ooh! And he's got kind of a baggy shirt. And that's clothing for the 1980s.
On December 8, 1980, John Lennon was shot and killed by Mark David Chapman. Lennon was rushed to the hospital but died within hours. Chapman was arrested and later pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. The assassination of John Lennon shocked the world and marked the end of an era in music history.
R.I.P. John Lennon. That's it. That's actually it.
Don't lay a finger on my butterfinger. Get back here with my butterfinger. Oh, I lost him. Good thing I always keep an extra butterfinger on me. Don't ever lay a finger on my butterfinger.
Butterfinger. Share consensually.
Here's some slang they had in the 1980s. Yo, Tyler, bro. Yo, you hear about that presidential debate, dude?
Mm-hmm.
Kid you not? Ronald Reagan's president, dude.
Word. That's gonna be tough for your parental units because now they're gonna lose their job.
Wait, stop, bro.
The 1980 Olympics were held in Moscow, Soviet Union, from July 19th to August 3rd. The Games featured 5,179 athletes from 80 countries. The Soviet Union earned the most medals, followed by East Germany. The United States boycotted the Games in protest of the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan. This resulted in a reduced field of competitors.
Children coming home on their birthday are becoming more oblivious to the fact that our world is changing as we know it. That is why today we introduce to you the Sega Genesis. More power and more performance is put into this one console than any other on the market. Pick one up today and become the next Fortnite gamer. Just kidding, that didn't come out good. But what you could play was Sonic the Hedgehog, The Adventures of Batman and Robin, and Afterburner 2. Sega Genesis. Enhance your imagination.
Big thing America had to consider was the spread of communism and how it affects our freedom. We made the Reagan Doctrine policy that kind of stopped communism in a lot of countries and stopped the spread of it.
Communism sucks. Here in America, it's capitalism.
Communism does suck, guys. It really does.
Come on, do you really want to live in the same house? Same house as everybody? No.
Reaganomics is a term used to refer to the economic policies and principles implemented by President Ronald Reagan during his presidency. These policies centered around the idea of reducing government regulation and taxation to stimulate economic growth and job creation. Reaganomics remains a controversial and debated topic in economics and politics. Bush's presidency continued many of these policies, but also forced new challenges regarding to the end of the Cold War and the Gulf War.
Some sports, games, and pastimes that were popular were, playing baseball. I think we can all agree that was the most popular sport at the time. A very popular baseball player was Fernando Valenzuela, and he played for the Dodgers. Some video games that were very popular at this time was Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Super Mario, and Tetris. Board games that were popular was Sorry, Skip Bo, Clue, Risk, and Trivial Pursuit. If you're feeling a little fidgety, maybe you can try your hand at the Rubik's Cube. There's also some skateboarding, maybe even try a kickflip. I totally failed at doing that. But of course, nothing beats hanging out at the mall with your friends, play some arcade games, play on a pinball machine, go bowling, watch movies at the movie theater, eat pizza and drink Coca-Cola, shop for clothes, specifically Levi's. All kinds of things to do at your home or outside to distract yourself from the fear of communism and getting nuked by Russia. Okay, bye-bye. Back to the history.
Now we're going to be going over major events in the 1980s. A huge event, pretty sad event, was Chernobyl, happened in Russia in 1986 when a huge reactor exploded. The cause of it was many people dying of radiation and then a huge cool picture of this thing called the elephant's foot. It was only a couple feet wide, but weighed hundreds of tons, and if you looked at it, you'd go blind.
The Challenger space shuttle was a spacecraft operated by NASA that exploded during its 10th mission on January 28, 1986, killing all 7 crew members. This disaster shocked the world and led to a suspension of NASA's space shuttle program for over 2 years. This tragedy is one of the most significant events in space exploration history, and it has had a lasting impact on the development of the space program.
Now, as you may know, there are all kinds of popular movies and TV shows and even commercials that came from the 1980s that are still so iconic. A couple TV shows I want to give a massive shout out to that I have never heard of and you probably never heard of is Knight Rider and Married with Children. Knight Rider, you know, it's all about cars, you know, he's got the watch that he talks into, and I guess he fights crime. Married with Children is a very popular sitcom. It's not the most family-friendly thing you've seen.
I want that.
Class dismissed. Except for you, Mr. Bundy. Mr. Bundy, I've noticed you during class staring obsessively at my legs.
Well, at least you didn't catch me looking at other things.
And other things. Your behavior, Mr. Bundy, has finally forced me to take action.
Yabba dabba doo.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my personal favorite movies from the 80s. You know, there's the part where he's just switching the thing around, there's the boulder, there's the Ark, there's the Nazis. Yeah, you love Nazis, don't you? And of course, for commercials, there's the Lego My Eggo. You steal someone's Lego Eggo waffle and you're like, bruh, Lego My Eggo, give me that waffle back, my boy. It's very epic, and that catchphrase can make sure that you never die of starvation. Beetlejuice is a very iconic movie by Tim Burton where there's this dude, his name is Beetlejuice, and he's very strange, I don't know. He's the kind of character where you watch the movie and you just can't stop remembering his face. You think of Beetlejuice and you just remember his color palette, his white face, the green hair, the striped shirt. That's crazy.
Now we're going to be going over 3 big inventions in the 1980s that affect us every day now. The first big one is personalized computers. The first actual computer was a Macintosh. Nowadays, we developed our personalized computers that we use every day to become a lot more powerful and more efficient. Number 2 would be the F-117 Nighthawk. This was a spy plane developed by the U.S. to spy on countries during the Cold War. And then the last one, but not least, is DNA fingerprinting. This was really effective at catching people who committed crimes. As soon as criminals kind of found out this was a very real thing, crime rate went down a lot.
The Iran-Contra affair was a political scandal that occurred during the Reagan administration in the 1980s. It involved the illegal sale of weapons to Iran, which was under an arms embargo at the time, in exchange for the release of American hostages being held in Lebanon. The scandal was eventually exposed, leading to investigations of several high-ranking officials. The affair damaged the Reagan administration's reputation and raised questions about the legality and morality of U.S. foreign policy.
Celebrities also existed in the 1980s, and they even come with their own controversies. The first one we're going to be talking about here is Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off of a live bat on stage. Like, imagine you're a real-life bat just chilling, just flying, and then you get grabbed out of the air by the one and only Ozzy Osbourne, and then he sinks his teeth into you, and you're like, bruh. And then, of course, you die. Mr. Osbourne claims that he didn't know it was a real bat, he thought it was fake, and he just bit the head off of it to be edgy, I guess. But we all know he's so hyped up on drugs all the time that there's no way he didn't know it was real. A very iconic music video from the 1980s is Olivia Newton-John's Let's Get Physical music video. Now, this music video and song was very different from all the other stuff that she usually does. She was your typical American sweetheart, she can do no wrong, but then comes out with this music video and you're like, bruh, what happened? This music video consists of a lot of aerobics and working out and weightlifting and muscular dudes and then chunky dudes. Some parts of the music video consists of Miss Newton-John here being very seductive and, I don't know, suggestive. And it was a very strange music video at that time, but it serves as a very iconic song when you're just trying to work out, you know what I'm saying? One last celebrity controversy we're going to be discussing here today is by Madonna, Like a Prayer. This music video was filmed in a Catholic church with all kinds of stuff around, and, you know, she's wearing a very skimpy outfit, and it's very similar to Olivia Newton-John, you know, being very seductive in a church environment with a bunch of symbolism all over the room. And then there's this one fine gentleman that, you know, materializes from a saint, like, wax sculpture statue or something. And you gotta just wonder, who could that possibly be? Is it Jesus? Is it some saint from the Bible? And quite frankly, we'll never know because, you know, there's one small detail that you might notice about this individual that, you know, it doesn't connect to anyone in the Bible. I don't know if you noticed, but, you know, he's black. And during this time period, people were outraged. This is just this is a big no-no. But yeah, career ruined. We never heard from her again, I'm pretty sure.
The HIV and AIDS epidemic began to emerge in the 1980s, primarily affecting gay men in urban areas of the U.S. At the time, the disease was poorly understood and highly stigmatized, leading to discrimination and fear. In 1987, the FDA approved the first drug, AZT, which slowed progression of the disease. Many governments were slow to respond, leading to widespread criticism. By the end of the decade, millions of people were affected worldwide, and it shaped the public perception and response to the disease.
If you were a cultured individual during the 1980s, then you would know some of the popular hip-hop dancing. It was one of the many pastimes after all get together with your homies, wear aerobics, wear neon, and then just hop around like there's no tomorrow. And I tried for a couple hours to master these dances just a little bit ago. So first dance was the Humpty Dance. Another one was the Moonwalk, the Alf. Then the Electric Slide. That one's very useful for line dancing. The Hammer Dance, of course by MC Hammer. The Carlton from The Fresh Prince. The iconic Thriller dance from Michael Jackson, the Running Man, the Worm, which I cannot do. I practiced it in the living room and it really hurt, so I'm not even going to show footage of it. The Snake, which is very slick if I do say so myself. The Robot Dance, the Roger Rabbit, and finally the Cabbage Patch.
The Berlin Wall fell in 1989, marking the end of the Cold War and reunification of Germany. The wall was created in 1961 by the East German government to prevent citizens from going to the West. Over the years, the wall became a symbol of oppression and division. In 1989, a series of peaceful protests led to the opening of the border, and on November 9, 1989, the wall was torn down and people from both sides of the border celebrated together.
So this all begs the question, what is the perfect date in the 1980s? I have never seen a single woman in my entire life, so I can't even reenact this. Of course, number one, movies. Who doesn't like watching movies? You gotta go to the movie theater with your boo. This one surprised me, but aerobics and dance parties, like that's my kind of groove, you know what I'm saying? I'd be very surprised if I found someone that actually liked dance parties. I think that's very strange. You could also go bowling again, just like you did with your friends. Karaoke nights, roller skating, go to concerts, maybe even stay up late at night and watch MTV, go to amusement parks or fairs, or watch a baseball game. That concludes my decades project. I spent so much time working on this, so please, Mr. Wooten, I beg of you, give us an A+. I give you money. You know what? I shouldn't even be trying to convince you, but it's just a proposition. Please, I beg of you. Well, I'm gonna go to bed now. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Alright.